If you want to develop a smooth, efficient forehand as an older player, you need to understand how to use your kinetic chain properly. If we look at how the best players in the world use their kinetic chain on their forehand, it starts with an effective preparation where they load their legs and they coil their upper body as part of their unit turn. This stores energy in the big muscles of the legs and trunk that can then be used to initiate the forward swing to create racket head speed. As they complete their unit turn, they release their racket with their non-dominant hand and allow the racket and arm to drop before initiating the forward swing by driving through the back or outside hip, driving it into the ground and throwing the hip forwards. The hip drive is followed almost instantaneously by the torso rotation, and the hip drive and the torso rotation together create the racket lag, which stretches the chest muscles, the internal rotator muscles, and the forearm muscles. As these muscles stretch, it activates the stretch reflex, which enables the player to make a more powerful muscular contraction, which is then used to rapidly propel and throw the arm and racket forwards through to contact with the ball. All this is done in a very precise sequence, and it has to be timed in relation to the flight of the ball. And the reason that most players, especially older players, can't hit smooth, efficient forehands is they simply don't have good enough movement and coordination to synchronize their kinetic chain efficiently. Most older players are very limited in their hip movement, very limited in their spine and neck movement. This places huge limitations on their ability to prepare properly and to use their kinetic chain. And after assessing hundreds of players, I found that most players have major coordination limitations throughout the whole body. And this is why when you watch yourself playing on video, your shots look jerky and look clunky. And it's also why when you try to hit with power, you make way too many unforced errors. It comes down to not having sufficient coordination to effectively use your kinetic chain and to control the angle of your racket face as precisely as you need to. So it's obviously important to understand how the technique works and to do consistent, well-structured practice, but it's crucial for you to understand that until you improve your movement and coordination, you'll never be able to hit smooth, efficient forehands because that's just not the way it works. The good news though is that you can improve coordination at any age, and it's something I did within my own game because I was stuck at the same level from the age of 18 to 35, so I was stuck for around 17 years. My timing wasn't good enough, my kinetic chain wasn't good enough, so I was never able to turn my forehand into a real weapon. Anytime I tried to hit with power, I just made too many unforced errors. And I wasn't a bad player, I was at the 5-0 level, but I got there because I worked hard, I just relied on fitness, and I was an absolute grinder. But what I really wanted was to be able to have the sort of attacking game style and play points on my own terms. I tried coaching, I tried practice, I tried all the things that you would normally try, but it wasn't until I learned how to improve my coordination that I was finally able to make the breakthrough and develop the sort of attacking game style that I'd always wanted to be able to play. The way that you improve coordination is using brain-based training because coordination is controlled by different parts of your brain, and your brain changes through a process called neuroplasticity. We have negative plasticity, which is where things get worse, and we have positive plasticity, which is how things improve. Now, negative plasticity is what's caused your coordination to deteriorate because you've probably spent most of your life sitting down at desks. And what this means is the parts of the brain that create and coordinate movement don't have to work as hard. And our brain works on a use it or lose it sort of philosophy. So if you don't use it in the way it's intended, things start to downregulate. And that's why your coordination isn't as good as it needs to be to hit smooth, efficient tennis strokes. But again, the good news is we can create positive plastic changes. Once you understand how the brain works and you understand how to train it, you can work on exercises to upregulate the function in the parts of the brain that create and coordinate movement. And as you do this, your coordination is going to improve, and it's going to enable you to learn technique more easily, and it's going to enable you to develop more smooth and efficient shots that you can hit more consistently. So the starting point is making sure that all of your joints are moving properly and through a full range of motion. Because if you can't move a joint into a specific position while you're standing in your front room, you're not going to suddenly be able to do it when you're out on court, and if you try to, this is often where injuries happen. So there's lots of key parts of the body. I've already mentioned the spine. A lot of older players' spines don't move in the way that they should, which means they can't prepare effectively and they can't use their spine and their torso rotation in the way that they need to as part of the swing generation. Same thing goes for the hips, but then we've also got smaller joints in the feet and hands that are going to be really important People wear shoes their entire life, so the joints in the feet don't tend to move properly. That creates huge issues for footwork, and that's one of the big things that holds a lot of players back. And then when we think about the hands and the wrists, if the joints don't move properly there, we're not going to have the control that we need over the racket head. So we've got to make sure all of the joints are moving in the way they're intended to. Then you want to work on improving your coordination and control with each different part of the body. And there's different ways that we can do this, but the most simple way is to try and make circular shapes with every different part of the body. The reason this works is because we have a part of the brain that creates movement that lives in the frontal lobe, and we have a part of the brain that coordinates movement that lives in the cerebellum, which is at the back and the bottom. So if I move my right hand, that's going to be my left frontal lobe and my right cerebellum coordinating it. So if I do a circular movement with my thumb like this, although it looks really simple, the brain has to kind of work hard in these different areas to create and coordinate that movement. And by doing that consistently with each different part of your body, it starts to train and upregulate these parts of the brain that are involved in creating and coordinating movement. And as you do that, they improve in function, we start to get plastic changes, your overall coordination improves and enables you to use your kinetic chain more effectively and create more smooth, efficient strokes. The next layer to this is going to be training each of these different body parts at different speeds. And it's as simple as doing circles at different speeds, because you need to train your body to be able to work accurately at slow speeds for things like drop shots. And you obviously need to be able to do accurate, high quality movements at faster speeds so you can hit with power without sacrificing consistency. If you would like help learning how to do coordination training, I've got a program that shows you exactly how to do it. I'll place a link to that down in the description so that you can learn more about it, learn how to improve your coordination, so then you can develop a much more efficient forehand. But one of the cool things about coordination training and brain-based training in general is it doesn't take much time in order to do the actual training, especially compared to other types of training. So you think about conditioning work, or you think about going to the gym and lifting weights, you tend to have to be there for an hour, 90 minutes in order to get results. Whereas brain-based training, I normally recommend 3 20-minute sessions per week, because we've got research showing that if you do an hour's worth of training each week, we can create permanent changes within the brain. And that's the goal. You want to permanently turn yourself into a better tennis athlete. And you want to think about your coordination training in the same way that you would think about any other type of training. You have to do it consistently and over a period of time in order to improve and get to the point that you need to. So if you want to get fitter and you start running and you run 3 times a week for 5 kilometers, after 2 weeks, you are going to be fitter, but you might not be fit enough to run a marathon just yet. Same thing goes for coordination training. After 2 weeks of working on it, your coordination will have improved a little bit, but you might need to go on for longer before you achieve sufficient coordination to be able to hit the ball and use the type of technique that you really want to be able to hit. So you just need to understand that about training. You've got to work at things consistently. If you have any questions about coordination training, leave me a comment down below and I'll try and respond as quickly as I can. If you enjoyed the video, it would be much appreciated if you could give me a thumbs up. And if you don't subscribe to my channel, it also really helps me out if you could do that as well. Okay, thanks for watching and I'll catch you next time.